The Avs are looking to make it lucky number 7 on the night. Currently on a 6-game winning streak. All of those games coming at home, but they're on the Sega Baba on a road trip out to Minnesota. You do expect some lineup changes, as we talked about. A couple of guys expected to draw back in to have some fresh legs for Colorado. Big E and Rudo coming to you live for the DNVR Avalanche pregame show. E, I'm trying to be realistic about tonight. You look at the Avs, they're on a Sega Baba. Minnesota's rested. Minnesota's at home. There are some things working against them. But Minnesota also remains the injured team that they've been over the past couple of weeks. Can the Avs get this done?
I do. Listen, I've been, as you know, very positive lately, and there's a lot of reasons to be positive. I do believe they get it done tonight again, make it 7 in a row. Yes, it is a Sega Baba. The Avalanche has been excellent on Sega Babas, as you know. I feel good about it. I feel good about it because you're going to get some fresh bodies. You're probably looking at 4 fresh bodies. If Blackwood is one. I'm assuming 17, 25, and 70, right? I'm assuming those 3 guys back in. You're talking about, I'm assuming those 4 are back in. So you got 4 guys that were not on a Sega Baba. It is a big divisional game. We all know the Avalanche surpassed them in standings, a game or 2 ago, whatever it was. I do feel that are the mics good? Can we hear everything? Or I'm just reading chat there.
Yeah,
we're good. Anyway, I do feel good. I feel that the Avalanche. It is a big game for the Wild, and you hear Bednar last couple of days talking about people like resting some players, and he's like, "Yeah, we're not in the same spot as we were 2 years, 3 years ago, right? Whatever it is, it's a different race this year." So if you're looking at the Minnesota Wild, now they've fallen to the wild card spot, and you can't blink too much. You know what I mean? Like you can't. They've lost 5 out of 7. It's a big game for the Wild tonight. So you're right. It is a big test for the Avalanche because those guys are well rested in the sense that they didn't play last night. They're at home. They have the divisional opponents, the hatred towards the Avalanche. And it's a big game. So they're going to be ready. So it's a big test for the Avalanche, absolutely. But I do believe that they respond and they come out, in a big way.
I hope you're right. Obviously, adding fresh legs to your lineup is important, but also those are guys at the bottom of your lineup for the most part. Malinsky, generally a bottom pairing guy. LOC and Kelly, likely bottom line, maybe third line, depending on situation type guys. So my question is, how much more can you expect out of the Avs top 6? Obviously, McKinnon did a lot of the heavy lifting for you last night, and I might be drifting into your 3 keys a little bit here, but do you need more out of that second line tonight, E?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they had a great first game. Last game, they were okay. They're okay. It's not just about production. I'm talking about, as you know, missed passes and, misreads. Yeah, they were okay. Again, that doesn't mean that I don't like them. I'm saying that their game was okay. Do I expect a bigger one tonight? Absolutely. We all know Val can go on a tear, especially in Minnesota. Brock Nelson sure has got a lot of family members in town, looking at him in a different uniform. And Joe, what's his name again? Picasso? No, Shakespeare. Shakespeare always can come up with a big. Why do I go to Picasso all the time? Joe always can make a big play, and so I expect a big game tonight out of those guys. And we all know what the top line can do. So we saw it last night, and hopefully it continues tonight.
Unfortunately, I do think this winning streak has to come to an end at some point, but you should have all of the motivation tonight, right? Minnesota is a team that if you win tonight, you start talking about them getting put away. It's going to be really tough for Minnesota to catch Colorado after a night like this. And yeah, I think that's no problem for the motivation. But we talked about that second line improving. We've talked about this is the third game in for guys like Nelson, for guys like Coyle. When do things really start to gel for these guys? Because I know everyone loves to sit here and say, well, it really takes 10 games or whatever. You don't have 10 games. You have 17 games left in the season. It needs to happen a little bit quicker for these guys. And obviously they looked great against Toronto. But when you talk about the maybe less effective play the other night, are there anything that they can do to gel better, not just on the ice with their play, but as becoming part of the locker room, like EJ talking about taking those guys out to dinner as a team the other night? Do those things really push them in the right direction, or do you need a little bit more of that?
No, I think you need more of that, and you're right. You got to speed up the process a little bit. There's no time for winning, no time for messing around. If you go back to the post game last game, a big pivotal play in that game last game was the 5-on-3 that the Avalanche defended. A big piece, a big component of that was Charlie Coyle, right? You know what I mean? So Charlie was huge on that 5-on-3. There's a reason why they went and got him. There's a reason why he's been part of one of the best PKs the last 5-6 years in Boston with the Bruins doing such a good job on the PK. There's a reason for that. Good system, but also good players that are, obviously implementing the system. So Charlie's been a big piece of that right away. This guy's been there for a game. It's a pivotal play in the game yesterday, and who's the main guy? Charlie Coyle. You're going to say, yeah, but Logan wasn't dressed. Yeah, but I tell you one thing. Charlie Coyle is one of the best in the league of that, and that's why you went and got him, and that's why you went and saw him yesterday doing that. So you got to jump into, like you just said, a little bit quicker. There's no time for a training camp. There's no time for – it's a little bit like the Four Nations, so to speak. You got to go right into it. You know what I mean? And Goo was talking about back then. Remember, Canada Cup was 3 weeks of training camp and going in. Well, Four Nations was different. When you get traded at the trade deadline, you don't have that much time to go, especially when you're in a dogfight, in a dog race, just as the Minnesota Wild. When you look at yourself in the wild card position, it's like, okay, am I really comfortable in this? So every point, every game matters. And if you're the Avalanche or the Minnesota Wild tonight, there's no time for anything. The Avalanche have to get going, and they've been going, obviously, with 6 wins in a row. And then obviously, for example, the second line playing great 2 games ago and okay last game. So you see if they can get that consistency that we've been talking about all year with all parts of their game, the Avalanche.
It certainly has been pretty darn consistent at home over these last 6. I'm not saying it's possible that they score 7 goals every night, but they've made it look good leading up to and now post-trade deadline in a lot of ways. This is their first real test on the road. We know about good road periods, but what are the other 3 keys that the Avs need to bring to get this win in Minnesota?
You're right. Even a better after one. I'm going to feel comfortable. I always tell you that. But let's get going right there with key number 1, playoff-type game mindset. Habits. They talk about it all the time. You got to make sure your habits are there, but you got to make sure that you are under control. But at the same time, elevate everything up a notch. So you don't elevate everything and then get out of control. You know what I mean? That's not going to work. You got to be under control, but you got to elevate everything up a notch. Elevate your play, elevate your heart rate, elevate your passion, your intensity. That's what makes playoff-type game mindset work. The Avalanche do have that mentality. Tonight is a very important one. It's basically a playoff game when you look at it. So it's kind of fun. You should embrace the challenge and have some fun with. Number 2, well, we just talked about it. Distance yourself in the standings. Very simple. I mean, Sega Baba, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal for the Avalanche, I should say, because they always perform so well. Every point counts till the end. But you got to enjoy the moment. But listen, it's very important that you treat this as an important game. It's a test for the playoffs, and it's obviously a real test for the standings today. Key number 3, depth, please, right? We all know what they did at the deadline. So key number 3, depth, please. That's why you now have 4 lines. You have 3 solid pairs. You have extra guys. You have goaltending depth. Make it count. Wedgwood is the guy that came in, and I remember after his first win or whatever, he said, 4 lines, 6 Ds, 2 goalies. Let's go. Right? I mean, it's going to take everybody. If you look back at that comment, they weren't as deep as they are now. You know what I mean? So depth is playing a big part of this Avalanche lineup. Depth is going to play a big part of the Avalanche lineup to add to the best forward and D in the entire NHL. So let's use that depth. Let's make it count. And let's get everybody going on the same page tonight and then make it rocking and go after his 7th win in a row.
I think they need depth. That's the most important part of that word consistency that you've said, right? If the depth is doing it consistently, you know your top guys are capable of doing that. You're not worried about them being able to produce night in and night out. But if your depth guys can give you quality every single night, you become a very, very hard team to beat, whether it's on a Sega Baba, whether it's at home, whether it's on the road, whatever the situation might be. But the next conversation I kind of wanted to get into here. Well, first of all, actually, just to confirm the lineup, all of the guys we expected to be in are in. The only lineup idiosyncrasy, Malinsky listed on the second pair next to Sam Girard. So the bottom pairing being Lindgren and Manson together. We'll see if that lasts or they change things up a little bit. But for now, Malinsky on that second pairing. Looks perfect right there. There you go. Look, having the improvements to your depth, what you talked about, consistency, all of that, I would love to see a little bit more level of a game from Colorado. When you look at these last 2 games post-deadline, not that they weren't great. The Toronto game, your bottom 6, your middle 6 rather, goes off, plays great. And then they kind of disappear in the second game, but your stars go off. Great. Mm-hmm. Your team is picking each other up in that way. What do the Avs need to do to get a night where they get some from the top, some from the middle, maybe some from the defense too? How do you balance that out a little bit better?
Well, I think it all starts with, in the chat, our boy Azura there. Blackwood needs to calm the waters down. It's a tough building. The Wild, ironically, have not been the best home team in the league. They've been unbelievable on the road.
Yep.
But it is still a loud building. It is the state of hockey. It is a fun place to play. You got to be ready to go. And I think Blackwood, we all know his game was okay. We love him. We're not criticizing him. I love him. You love him. But he had an okay game against, the Leafs. He wasn't that good. He was not sharp. Now, it's important tonight. He has kind of a bounce-back game. Can't go 2 games in a row, 3 games in a row where you're a little bit suspect. So that starts with that. That gives wings to the consistency that you need to roll 4 lines and challenge yourself. We all know the top line. They're either going to produce or they're going to get chances to produce. Now, the second line needs to challenge themselves to do the same. And I think as third and fourth lines, we've seen them. There's a lot of competition in this lineup right now. And I think you have to ask yourself, I'm back in right now. So what does that mean? Does that mean that I'm in until next game, and then after that, the other guys are coming in, or am I solidifying my spot? And, which leads to a different conversation too. If I'm Wood or Jimmy, did I do enough to stay in the lineup? And I think if the coach comes out and talks about it like he did about Malinsky before the game yesterday, he played his best game. It's just a matter of, then you know where you stand. And it's important with the coaching staff to make sure all the guys know where they stand, all the guys know where they fit, and if they perform well or not. So tonight, I think it's important to get that consistency and, challenge yourself as a whole, but also as 4 different lines to see what you need to bring. I'm expecting a buzz side of the fourth line. Obviously, they did 2 games ago. Parker Kelly, in my book, played his best game of the season. It was a scratch last game. It's all good. I'm sure he sat with coaches and, all knew that, hey, we're trying to get guys in. That's fine. But I expect a lot of the same from him tonight and Logan and Jack Drury. That's been perfect wherever he goes. You need him there, you need him here, you need him there. All good. Jack Drury's there. So I expect that line to be good. I expect the third line to keep going. Like we saw a mishmash here there when Charlie made the pass to Druin. So obviously that was a mixture of a couple lines. But I do expect that second line to go, and that's what's going to make the Avalanche, what we've said before. We said it, the team that made the most at the trade deadline because of that addition of Brock Nestle in that second line, to make sure that it really does give the Avs that 1-2 punch. And what easier job to have than to play behind Nathan McKinnon that's going to draw all the big matchups.
Must be nice.
It is nice. And that's why he's a perfect fit, and I think he's going to be good. And, I think he had a better game the first day than the last game. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's hard. You've been somewhere your whole life, and then it's new systems, it's new everything. I expect this guy to be really good, and you can see that he's got all the attributes to really help this Avalanche in a long stretch run.
Is there any concern that Minnesota might have some extra fire here? Not necessarily to chase down the Avs, but are they fighting for their playoff life a little bit? Realistically, I think they're pretty safe. Vancouver is 7 points back. Vancouver does have one game in hand, but it's not that close. But is there a little fire there extra for Minnesota?
It has to be. I mean, if you look at their record, man, I'm looking quick right here. They've lost 5 out of 7. You lose 5 out of 7 again, and Vancouver, that you just said, goes, I don't know, 9-3. Well, I'll tell you one thing, you're out. You know what I mean? So it does happen quickly, and not that it's fun when it happens. You all know that. It's you panic a little bit. But yeah, 5 out of 7, 5-5 in their last 10, just not good enough. Their power play is okay, but their penalty killing's at 69.9%. That is not going to help you do any, that's not going to get, and we all know they don't score the most goals, you know what I mean? So there's a reason for that. I know that Kaprizov and Ek and all those guys, we know that. We know it hurts. We can't. We've lived it all year, the Avalanche. We all know that. But you're talking about their 2 best forwards. You know what I mean? That hurts. And there's a reason why you're seeing them going down a little bit. Goaltending can only, help you so much. Gustafsson's been fine. Gustafsson and Flower has been fine, and it sounds to be like his last year maybe. But, so it's okay. But there's no excuses tonight. There's no friends. It's all enemies, and you're trying to get everybody going. You're trying to get everybody, you push people down, They're struggling, keep them struggling. We like it that way. That's their problem.
I love to keep them struggling, that's for sure, especially when it's Minnesota. When you talk about those guys that are missing, and look, it's a road game, so when it comes to the line matching, ultimately Minnesota is the one making those decisions where they can. But if you are Bednar, you didn't really do it the other night. So let me ask you the same question again. Do you try and sneak, especially with LOC back, Kelly back in the lineup, do you try and sneak some of those third, fourth lines out there for maybe an extra shift here and there? Not just, hey, you have a better defensive line with those guys in, but you have those fresh legs tonight.
Yeah, I think that's the last word you said, fresh legs. I think you got to play that to your advantage. And that was probably one of the reasons why they did that. LOC and Parker had a great game, you know what I mean? And Sam had a great game. He called it, Coach called it his best game of the year. So I think that you have, I'm knocking on wood again, you know me and wood. Like, I'm knocking on wood. Not Miles Wood, but wood for the injuries, you know what I mean? To make sure that they stay injury free and you use your depth, because you need depth in a long playoff series. You need depth on a Sega Baba like tonight. It's very important, and especially a team that might not be the deepest, especially with their injuries right now. So you should be able to take advantage of that. And you're right. You need a little bit of energy right now, and here and there, because you did play last night, and Max seems like he was on the ice for a gazillion shifts yesterday trying to get that 1,000 after that missed celebration or offside or whatever. And then, sometimes you got to help out. We talk about it on the show all the time. If you're not scoring, you got to get out there with energy and a buzz. So I do like, that line with Jack and 17 and 25. I do like that. I do believe they're going to provide energy. So it's not always judging their game on goals and assists. But like you said, if you can sneak them off there for a shift here and there where they are full of energy because they didn't play last night, take it to advantage and get after them.
For what it's worth, rest is coming for the Avalanche. You play tonight, you get 2 days off. You play 2 games, you get 2 days off. Then you have a tough 3 and 4 stretch, but even after that, you get 2 days off. So the schedule is pretty chopped up for Colorado. You can leave it all out there a little bit and not worry too much about the recuperation side of it. Let me ask you this, Denny, as we're kind of still getting past the trade deadline. It's still less than a week before now. First road trip for the team as the unit that they will be going into the playoffs. You've been on many, many road trips like that. Is there anything specific that you're trying to do to maybe bond those guys in, or is it just another road trip business time at this point of year?
Yeah, I think that it's important. It is important, and it sounds stupid, but it's not. It's important to get to know one another. I think a road trip just comes. I mean, again, they've been home for a few weeks, so I think it's important for those new guys, more importantly, the new guys, to really get to know their teammates, get to know the staff. It sounds stupid. It's having a soda on the plane and sitting next to someone that you really never met, but you know he knows somebody that you know, and then you have a conversation about life and kids and wife, and if you have any, where you're from, where you played college hockey and junior hockey, and all that kind of stuff. It's important that you get to know one another. It's important to spend some time together as well. It's not just about the new guys; it's about everybody else. This is our new group. We've had a lot of changes this year. We talked about it, 9, 10 changes. That's a lot. That's not normal. Everything was calculated. I don't believe it's too much. I do believe that it was done in trenches. Like a couple
Yep.
blocks, right?
Piece by
Goaltending in
piece.
November, piece by piece. And I mean, if you do everything today, 2 days ago, the deadline, okay, maybe I would tell you, oh, that's a lot. But everything was done right, and then all of a sudden, it feels right. It looks right. It sure plays right, in the last few games on the ice. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it sure plays right. So now it's a matter of, make sure that when it doesn't go well, because it's not always going to go well, it's going to get tight at times. We all know that. This is why EJ's back, right? EJ's been there, knows how to handle the guys, knows how to handle some guys like Mac or whoever if things get heated. So there's a reason, but it's important to know one another and then feel each other out before, going into those rocky waters, to make sure that it's not easy to go win. And we talk about it all the time. It is the hardest thing to do is to go win a Stanley Cup. It is a tough grind. It is a long grind. You need all the pieces going, and this one you just can't miss. Therefore, you have to get on top of it in a sense that it's very easy for the guys to start bonding off the ice together because you just got to put them in an environment to do so. And a road trip does exactly that.
Just to reinforce your point about the changes, currently in the Avs lineup, guys that were also in the lineup for game one, Ross Colton, Jonathan Drouin, Parker Kelly, Joel Kiviranta, Nathan McKinnon, Arturi Lehkonen, not Lehkonen. Lehkonen was hurt. Sorry. Let me take that one off the list. So not Val Nichushkin either. Logan O'Connor was there. Miles Wood was there. 7 of your 12 forwards, 5 new forwards in your lineup, and those have rotated because you've moved on from guys like Parsonen. When you look at the defense, you do have most of these guys. Gerard was there. Makar was there. I forget if Malinsky played in game one or not. So maybe.
I believe he did.
So Malinsky, Manson, Taves. Most of your defense still intact. Then both of your goalies are new. You're genuinely talking about 10 different players from opening night to today. You're right. They did piece that out. So they're 1 or 2 guys at a time, a little bit easier to adjust, but that is a lot of change for an NHL team throughout the course of a season. And I think it's worth noting, not that more so to give the Avs credit. I think they've done a great job of integrating most of these guys into the lineup. They've clearly proven they can adapt on the fly in a good bit of ways. But we are running out of time here, E. So bust out the crystal ball, buddy. Give me a score. Give me a name. What do you got?
I think it's going to be that's a 3-1 victory tonight. I do believe LOC, the mayor of Denver, with a tally tonight. And my boy Parker Kelly with a buzzsaw assist on that goal. I like it.
I'm going, what did you say the score was?
3-1 dub.
3-1? 3-1, okay. I like your depth picks, but I'm going second line. I'm going Brock Nelson tonight. He's putting one in the back of the net. That's what they brought him in to do. Let's see him get it done with this one. I I'm expecting a high-scoring game, to be honest. I'm thinking it's like a 5-3. I'm going to go 5-3 on this one. I think we're going to get the over pretty handily. Things like that just kind of happen on Sega Baba sometimes. Or you could get a 1-0 game. That also kind of happens. We'll see. Hopeful for the new guys to help the Avs get on the scoreboard. Beyond that, though, we do have my pregame picks with Bet365, where, of course, things are never ordinary. I went with 3 picks, and one of them may well have been Brock Nelson. But look at that. A Brock Nelson power play point plus 525. I'm just saying,
Wow.
like, he got PP one time yesterday. He's probably going to get some more PP one time tonight. At that type of money, it's pretty good. Pretty good right there. I also took the Avs to cover at plus 155, and then you can get the boosted parlay with the Avs to win, Nuke to score a goal, and both teams to score at least 2 at plus 600. So pretty good money there. Definitely some decent options out there if you believe in the Avs, and as we all know, the Avs have been very, very good on Sega Babas over the last 4 or 5 years. So good money. There's good money out there over at Bet365. When you do gamble with them, of course, you must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today. With a couple of minutes left here, I don't want to talk about this the wrong way because you hear these rumblings that are not accurate. Scott Wedgwood has played 2 very good games. Let's be very clear. Scott Wedgwood is the backup. Mackenzie Blackwood is the Colorado Avalanche starter. You still had a shaky game out of Blackwood the other day. You talked about it, maybe not in your keys, but surrounding your keys. You need Blackwood to step up and be solid for Colorado tonight. Realistically, what are you trying to get Blackwood out of the last, 17 games of the season? Are you running him because he's your best goaltender and you want to win as many games as possible? Or are you trying to create a path forward that sets Blackwood up the best for the playoffs?
I think the secondary you just said there's so important. So important. There are some holes in the schedule, like you said, that there is some rest period. But there's some holes that are tough, you know what I mean? And I think you want Blackwood coming in the playoffs, feeling really good about his game. He's never played in the playoffs. If I have to look, I don't believe so, right? I don't think he's ever played a game in the playoffs.
I don't think so,
I don't think so either. I mean, again, if he did, it was short-lived, So I do feel that it's very important for him to get on top of his game, to get some good work days when he's not playing, and to get some good rest periods, and to make sure he takes care of his body. To make sure he's ready to go for a long stretch run there in the playoffs. So I think it's important that you do get some good secondary goaltending, and that's what Wedgwood has done, especially the last 2 games. He's been awesome. He's on top of it. He feels good about it. It energizes the team. I think it's a great goaltending combo we have here in Colorado. I'm biased. It's one of the strongest in the National Hockey League. And why? Because we've seen the stretches of Mackenzie can do it, and we saw last night. Look no further than last night, and the game before that, where Wedgwood can come in, pitch a good inning, and then let Mackenzie get back in the net. So there's no controversy there. This is a great goaltending duo. And you call that not a 1A, 1B. You call that a starter and a great backup. And you know what I mean? A great starter and a great backup. And that's what you have. I think they nailed it at the, not at the deadline, but this year by fixing it on the fly. And these are people that have contracts more than further than this year, right? You know what I mean? So Wedgwood is still under contract next year. So you're looking at this probably for the foreseeable future, at least of this year and next year for the Avalanche, which makes me feel really good as one of the guys that did not like the goaltending that was there before. I do feel really good right now, and I do feel that they're nailing it down the stretch here and make sure that they're going to be ready for playoffs.
All right. Well, we are coming up on puck drop here, so we're going to wrap things up. If you're watching the game, it's Altitude locally, ESPN Plus not, or, whatever they have in Minnesota. I don't know. We are doing a watch along. Come join us for that if you want to watch the game with us. If not, at the very least, join us for post game where we will break it all down no matter what happens. I don't know. Maybe you want the Avs to win. Maybe you're rooting for the Avs to lose because you don't like my beard. Who's to say? I did say I'd shave it. We appreciate y'all. If the Avs do lose, the beard will be gone. This has been the DNVR Avalanche pregame show, and we'll talk to you in a few minutes.
We all silly like the mayor.